Truth Unveiled here, and today I have some exciting information to share with you. We're going to be talking about the real Jordan River location and also sharing with you the scriptural Jordan along with more of the promised land, the real land of Canaan. Now this video will be a continuation of our series on the true locations. Now if you already have not seen it or taken a look at it, please do so as it will be linked in the description box below. Now for those who are new to this network or new to this channel or are not even familiar with this topic, we're going to be going over a brief review of the real scriptural Jerusalem and where that really is as well, along with other scriptural locations, along with taking a look at ancient maps and sources so you can get a better understanding and a better idea of what we're talking about. Now, indeed, I'm aware that this is a very new topic for a lot of people, and I'm also aware that this is a topic that has not really been talked about or covered in other channels or networks. So with that being said, we're going to take this very slowly like we have done in previous videos and also when it comes to review. Now, again, if you have not seen the documentary that was uploaded back in October on this topic, please take a look at it. That's linked in the description box below. So I'm just going to assume that you've seen it. And once again, we're going to go over a brief review and consider the following topics and consider the following things, and really consider these things, folks, if you already have not or if you're still on the fence about this topic, because it's a very important topic indeed. But moving forward, right here, what I'm showing you is Jerusalem. Now, the one that they claim is the real place and the real place where scripture took place, they say it's the capital of what they call Israel. However, when you take a closer look, you start to notice some things that are very eerie about this. Like the first thing that we went over, how it tells you that the population as of 2016, according to the United Nations, is 874,186. But as we've gone over before, what is the problem with this? As we've gone over in our Sodom and Gomorrah video, and we talked about this, and we even have the scriptural references right here so you can see that we're not making this stuff up, that the real scriptural Jerusalem is desolate and without inhabitant, meaning that there is nobody there to this day. And we've already gone over how the Jewish people, how they're one, not the real people of scripture, and two, that they're the synagogues of Satan and that they do lie, and also the fact that their father, the devil, is the father of all lies, and that the serpent, the devil, has deceived the entire world by fooling the entire world into making the entire world think that this is the place where scripture took place and the events of scripture taking place here when they did not even take place anywhere near this region. Because last I checked, according to scripture, the real Jerusalem and the real land of Yasharal has a population today of 0, meaning there is absolutely no one there. It is without inhabitant, desolate. Desolation means that it is barren. Desolation means that nobody is there. Desolation means that it has a population of 0, not a population of 874,186. Meaning just from this alone, you can already see that this is a fraud. All of this area is a fraud. Not just some of it. No, all of it is a fraud. And how do you really expect this to be the true land when it's barely the size of New Jersey as well? And as we've also gone over and talked about that people are passing through, there are no jackals to be found anywhere, and these are scriptural requirements for this to be the land. So just based on this alone, we see that this is impossible for this area to be the land, especially when there were millions and millions and millions of people who were dwelling here during the time of scripture in an area that's barely the size of New Jersey, and that's all that our Creator allotted for an inheritance. That devil is a lie. But surely this has to be the land, right? Surely it has to be where scripture took place, because that's what the Zionists tell us. Surely it has to be. Even though scripture tells us that it's uninhabited, that there are ruins, that people are not passing through the true land, and that it's inhabited by jackals. But based on those 4 points alone, this fake Jerusalem is the exact opposite. And also in that other source we just showed you with Jerusalem, they even told you that the old city walls were built back in 1541. How can that be when scripture says that it's a desolation and has been destroyed? And once again, just for a reminder for all of you out there, this is a truth network, and the purpose of this network is to restore truth, but also so that you can learn and understand the true name of our Father Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, but also restoring things that have been hidden, restoring things that have been lost. Because what? This has been a grand deception and a grand illusion that has plagued the world for how many years, how many centuries now? And now is the time for what? The truth being revealed, because the truth will be revealed to you today. And that is exactly why we're going over this once again, so that you can see and understand and realize exactly the lies that have been spoon-fed to you for how long. But not only that, to also unlearn the lies and see the truth that's right in front of you, that is hidden in plain sight. Now keep that in mind, because we're going to be going over that, and it's going to be so very important when we look at the Jordan River, as we've done before. But they even tell you about Mount Zion and the fake one, but you even see, and they even tell you that it's actually a hill, that this is a hill, not a mountain. According to basic geography, it is a hill and not a mountain. Therefore, it's not the real Mount Zion, but a fake one. And we've already gone over in the documentary where the real Mount Zion really is. Please take a look at it so that you can learn more about it and be deceived no more. Now, in previous videos, we've also covered this about Southern Africa and why that is a scriptural match of the real scriptural Jerusalem. But we also know that if there is the scriptural Jerusalem, the scriptural Jordan cannot be too far away, along with the real scriptural land of Canaan, the real promised land. Now, this says right here, what does the future hold for Botswana? Africa's last Eden. You see the picture of this elephant right here? We've also talked about that in the documentary regarding animals and regarding their importance and significance when it comes to Noah and Noah's Ark, or Nuke, and also when it comes to Adam and Kuwa, commonly known as Adam and Eve. Now, if you can recall, we also went over the Diverga map, and this map is a very important map indeed, because it comes all the way from 1411, so well over 600 years ago. But as you can see from this map that's outlined, here is a picture of Africa, but with this circle right here, it depicts the Garden of Eden at the southernmost tip of Africa, with the symbol of two concentric rings from which emerge the four rivers that are mentioned in Brashith, or Genesis chapter 2. You can see those rivers right here as they go out from southern Africa, the Garden of Eden depicted right here. Now, I'm going to leave the source in the description box below, once again, in case you're new to this, so you can take a look at it on your own time. But another reason this map is so very important, not just the fact that it's over 600 years old, but also the fact that in the 1930s, this map was confiscated by a Jewish family. Now, once again, as we've gone over in the documentary, why would a Jewish family want to take this map? Why would they want to conceal this map? Why wouldn't they want people to know about this map, especially 10 years before their fake fraudulent land was established? Could it be because they're trying to hide something? Could it be because they're trying to hide truth? Could it be because they don't want folk to know about this? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And again, just like the word says, everything that's in the dark will come to the light indeed. And once again, the truth is finally being revealed to you today. But now we're going to get into more of the Jordan River. Now, once again, if you would like to learn more, please take a look at our documentary. That way you'll be able to see exactly what we're talking about and other topics that we really haven't covered in this video, simply for the sake of time, such as giants and other things of that sort. Again, it's very important to have this basic understanding as well. The understanding that, again, names have been changed, maps have been burned, things have been twisted, and what I mean by that is so much has been changed in order to fit the Zionist story and their fake land and their false borders. What am I talking about? When you look at Numbers chapter 34, when it comes to the boundaries of Canaan or the boundaries of Canaan, specifically the first 12 verses, you'll start to notice something that's very interesting and suspicious indeed. Now, we covered this in the documentary, but once again, we'll briefly go over it, because what you'll see in verse 12 is that what? Then the boundary will go down along the Jordan and end, according to the NIV, at the Dead Sea. What's the problem with this? Because then it says this will be your land with its boundaries on every side. What you'll start to see is that what? All of the translators and these publishers, they're all in on the scheme. They're all in on the agenda. They're all in on the lie of the fake Jerusalem and its fake borders, along with the fake Jordan as well. And the Arab nations are involved and in on the scheme too, by naming one of their countries after the fake Jordan. What am I talking about? What you will start to see is that the phrase Dead Sea was actually not used. It was actually Salt Sea right here. And you start to see that in certain translations, different words are used. So in the NIV and the NLT, they use the Dead Sea, but the English Standard Version uses the Salt Sea. This version, along with the New American Standard Bible, uses the Salt Sea right here. And if you just keep going down the list, again, please pardon the pagan titles, you'll see that even the KJV, they refer to it as the Salt Sea. Now, again, you have to understand that things have been changed and twisted around. It's not talking about that fake land in Palestine. No, it's not talking about that. But see, other versions say the Dead Sea. Some versions say the Dead Sea. Some versions say the Salt Sea. Why is that important? Because what this is letting you know is that the translators had an agenda in mind, and the agenda that they had in mind was to remove original words, change up the meanings in order to fit their false narrative, just like we went over for the Mediterranean Sea. It did not say Mediterranean Sea, it said the Great Sea, and you can look that up on your own time. But as we continue to scroll, you see that some versions they say Salt Sea, and other versions they say Dead Sea, like this one right here. So how do you know which one is the right one? Well, if you look at older translations such as the Septuagint, they say the Salt Sea right here. So that is one way that you're able to know and tell how they have lied about this. And again, pardon the pagan titles, but the reason I'm here at Bible Hub is just so that you can see and understand exactly the bigger agenda when it comes to all these different translations and the agenda that they had in mind when it comes to different places, and also how words were added and inserted, phrases were added and inserted, adding and taking away, as we've also gone over before, especially when it comes to Deuteronomy chapter 1, where they claimed that it was an 11-day journey, but then of course took 40 years. That is what they're telling you. That was an insertion on their part. But here we are in Numbers chapter 34 verse 2, because again, in order to find the real scriptural Jordan, we have to look for what? The real scriptural Canaan, or the land of Canaan. And context, the entire chapter of Numbers 34. But you see, when you enter Canaan or Canaan, the land that will be allotted to you as an inheritance is to have these boundaries. So we see that the Jordan River is in fact one of them. Now again, some have tried to use this chapter to debunk and say, oh, well, it cannot be in southern Africa because of Egypt and because of Edom as borders. But again, like we've gone over before, none of us knows how scriptural borders looked back then, simply because none of us were actually there. The Egypt that they're showing you today was not the scriptural Egypt borders back then, and it's important to understand that and get that through our heads quick, fast, and in a hurry, just like we showed you in the documentary when it comes to Ethiopia. The country Ethiopia today, that was not the scriptural Ethiopia back then, because once upon a time, Ethiopia was pretty much the entire continent of Africa. And again, like we share with you in the documentary as well, how they claim this is the map that they share with us, and this is the map that they've been spoon feeding us for how many years, making us believe that this is truly the map of how the true people of scripture went from Egypt to the fake land. This is the map they want us to believe, because they want us to believe that Canaan is actually in Palestine. That's what they want us to believe. You see how even this map tells you that the Mediterranean Sea, how again they changed it scripturally, it's the Great Sea. Sea. The Great Sea could be talking about one of the oceans in scripture. It's not talking about the Mediterranean Sea, that's for sure, because that was an insertion, adding and taking away. And again, everyone is involved with this when it comes to the Zionist leaders and when it comes to your church leaders too. They're all in on the scheme, profiting off lies, false prophets. Because you mean to tell me that it took 40 years to walk from Egypt to present day Jerusalem, the fake Jerusalem anyway. This is the map they want us to believe. This little distance. And mind you, contextually speaking, there were how many people that were on this journey? There were millions of people, including children and including women, on the Exodus account in the Exodus story when they left Egypt. And after all the 10 plagues happened and occurred, there were millions of them. So it took 40 years to go from here to here, this little bitty distance. This little bitty distance is not even a week's worth of walk, let alone 40 years worth. You see this? If you walk from Egypt to Israel today, the fake Israel anyway, if you walk there according to Google Maps, it takes about 149 hours. So if you round that up to 150 hours, that's not even a week's time, let alone 40 years. Somebody is lying. Who is lying then? But a more accurate depiction of the Exodus account story, it could have taken 40 years to go from here. Now, we've already covered how many videos on this topic about the real scriptural Mount Sinai being in Saudi Arabia and not in that fake Sinai Peninsula that has been spoon-fed to you for 1700 years, courtesy the beast known as Rome. But anyway, it could have taken 40 years to go from here, the real scriptural Mount Sinai at Jabal al-Lawz in western Saudi Arabia, all the way from here to what's known today as Southern Africa in the Kalahari Desert, where the real scriptural Jerusalem is located. And we've also covered this when we went over our video on the real Jerusalem temple and the real Hayakal, or the temple remains, located where? In the Kalahari Desert? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. Now, I know a lot of people have been wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, what was the real Exodus account? If they left Egypt and had to wander for 40 years, did they go back into Egypt? More than likely, they journeyed this way, so they journeyed today, what's commonly known as southward this way, because again, Mount Sinai is over here at Jabal al-Lawz in western Saudi Arabia, so more than likely, they journeyed this way and then came over into Africa, went this way, or mainland Africa, I should say, wandered throughout eastern Africa in this region, encountered giants as we've gone over, showing you ancient maps all the way from the 16th century, so maps in the 1500s showing you Agag and scriptural Agag and what? Proof of giants within Central African regions. So more than likely you trekked all the way from here before finally arriving into the promised land, the real land of Canaan. And how do we know that this is the real land of Canaan? One way to know is that they put the truth right in front of you. They're putting the truth right in front of your face as always, because they even tell you to this day where the real land of Canaan is when it comes to right here in so-called South Africa. They tell you about the municipality Canaanland as we've gone over, but this is so very important to understand when we talk more about where the real Jordan is located. They tell you that it's a local municipality located where? Within the Garden Route. And by the way, the Garden Route was known as the Eden District. Eden, where have we heard that before? With the town called Zor, and we went over that when it came to the real Sodom and Gomorrah as we've gone over before. Then we've gone over this seal right here and how this is what? The Al, or commonly known as Aleph in the Yahudiyat, the Paleo-Hebrew language. The seal, what? Mark, seal, sign, covenant, agreement. Do you see and understand what this is really telling you? The truth is right in front of your face, hidden in plain sight. That's exactly how this works. Hidden in plain sight for you to see the truth that's right in front of you. And of course, we also went over this source, which is right here, the Dictionary of Southern African Place Names from the Human Sciences Research Council, or the HSRC, that was done. And this was a source that was compiled back in the 1980s. And you'll see right here that Canaland, because what we just read and we just saw that Canaland, what is known as Canaan's land, according to this source. It's also encountered with the K, Canaland, as you just saw. So they're even telling you right here where the real land of Canaan is, that the real land of Canaan is in southern Africa. So we have this as a witness. We also have the 1411 map as a witness, 2 or more witnesses to establish this matter. Not only that, but we know that southern Africa is what? Barren, desolate, with the Kalahari Desert containing the real scriptural Jerusalem. So we have all these witnesses to show us and to confirm where the real land of Canaan is. It's important to understand where the real land of Canaan is, because that's going to help us in our search for the real Jordan River. I've also gone over this before in great detail about the borders and talking about them and exposing them as well, because what they like to tell you, according to Brashid, Genesis 15:18-21, Yahuwah gave the borders that showed what? That true Yasharal would be between what? The river of Egypt and what? The Euphrates River, as it's commonly known today, even though it was not actually called that. But according to that, oh, so that's just these borders right here. So this has to be the scriptural land, right? Then we share with you this very important source from the National Geographic Magazine, volume 32, and this was published all the way back in 1918, so well over 100 years ago now. We're on page 395, and the reason this source is so very important is because what you will read is that a kingdom in Africa, there enters a branch of the river Euphrates, Niger. The friar does not confuse this with the Mesopotamian Euphrates, but assumes two rivers with the same name. Why is that so very important? Because this source is telling you that there are two rivers. There are two Euphrates rivers. So again, the question becomes, which one is the scriptural one? This river forms three branches, one entering the middle of the kingdom of Aminuan and the other branches flowing around the whole kingdom, the width in some places being 2 days' journey. When I crossed this great river, I first made a long journey along its banks, which are very populous, referring evidently to the river Benue, a tributary of the Niger. And as we've gone over already in our documentary, we showed you that what? The Niger is connected to the Nile River. Why is that so important? Because when you looked at that map from 1411, didn't it look like one of the rivers, one of the four rivers of scripture was actually the Nile? Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And just so that you have a visual of everything, what the Nile River, or the river of Egypt, as you can see, extends all the way well into Africa, all the way well into Uganda, if not farther than that, because what you'll start to see that according to the ancient map in 1411, that the rivers went all the way and flowed all the way towards southern Africa. But could they be trying to hide that as well? It's looking like it. Not only that, so here's that river right here that flowed well into the southern portions of Africa, and then you have over here the Niger and the Benue rivers over here, and as we've talked about, it's connected to the Nile. So in between that, you have all this space right here of so-called southern Africa right there. Could it be possible that the wicked translators, that they made up and forged their own Tigris and Euphrates River in so-called Iraq and made you believe that that's the real cradle of civilization, even though it's actually not? Could it be that there have been some serious lies going on? Could it be that the enemy has deceived the entire world? Not anymore. Could it be that if it were possible, even the very elect would be deceived? Could it be that the so-called missionaries went into Africa with an agenda in mind in order to rape, plunder, murder, and slaughter all of the people and natives of Africa who knew the truth about the land, document and make up their own forgings, steal the artifacts from Africa just like the so-called queen did, and then bring them back to their lands, and then forge their fake lands, and then convince the entire world that the fake Jerusalem is the real one when it is not, based on stolen artifacts? Could all of this be the case, or is all of this just mere surprise or a coincidence? That's for you to decide, but while you're deciding, please take a look at this map that we went over in the documentary, because again, in order to find the real Jordan, we have to understand where the real land of Canaan is. Now, what this map is showing you right here, this is a map that was taken from 1893. Now, the reason this map is very important is because you'll see right here Canaanland, and we've already gone over based on how many sources and witnesses that this is the land of Canaan that's near Cape Town. So as you see, it's in so-called South Africa and Southern Africa, but you also see Mamre right here. Why is that important? Because Mamre is a scriptural town, is a scriptural location that's located in the land of Canaan. What scripture verses do we have to back this up? We have two places. So the first is Brashith, or Genesis chapter 23 verse 19, which we're going to read right now, where it says, "And after this, Abraham, or Abraham, buried Sarah, or Sarah his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre," that is Hebron, "in the land of Canaan." Let me repeat that. Before Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So that lets you know that Mamre is in the land of Canaan. Mamre, Canaan. Mamre, Canaan. Mamre, Canaan. And also, when I show you some more maps, just as we've shown you in the documentary, you'll see that Hebron is not too far from this region either. Along with Brashith, Genesis chapter 49 verses 29 through 31, that says, "And he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my ancestors in the cave that is in the field of Aprun the Hittite, and the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham, or Abraham, bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial site. There they buried Abraham, and Sarah, Sarah his wife. There they buried Yitzchak, Isaac, and Rebekah his wife. And there I buried Leah." And once again, the truth hidden in plain sight, because again, these cartographers and everything, and these so-called missionaries, they went to these regions and they went to Southern Africa with an agenda in mind. They already knew that this was the scriptural location, and they knew that this was the scriptural land. That's why they went there, in order to retrieve certain artifacts and then bring them back to the fake land and establish their fake fraudulent 1948 Israel, and get the churches to go along with the lie, get all of these organizations to go along with the scheme, donate millions if not trillions of dollars to the fake Israel and the fake people there, named after not one, not two, but three idols, even though our creator Yahuwah does not give his praise to idols. So obviously there was an agenda to what? Deception, to deceive the entire world. Not anymore. But now that we have the understanding of where the land of Canaan is, the real one, and the real Mamre as another witness with scriptural references to back all this up, now we're able to have a basic foundation and a better foundation of the real scriptural Jordan and where it really is. Because again, the truth is right in front of you. Hidden truth that's right in front of you. Now in this video specifically, we found 5 different maps showing ancient Jordan. Actually, we've gone over them before in the documentary, but we really did not go over a section for the Jordan, but we will once again in a moment to come. Now also, upon further research, because again, you have to understand, folks, that this type of stuff takes a ton of research. And when I say a ton, I'm talking years worth of research. I'm not just talking, oh, let me just put a video together today. Oh, let me just put a video together tomorrow. No, it takes tons of research, tons of prayer, tons of seeking and searching in order to reveal to you what is being revealed to you today. Because the truth will make you free indeed. And it's about freeing your mind from these deceptions, unlearning the lies so that you can see and understand the truth that's right in front of you. But this map from 1864 by James Wild is very important. And we're going to be talking about James Wild and why James Wild is so very important and in on the scheme as well when it comes to your so-called queen and who the real queen truly is in that bloodline. But anyway, this is a map of so-called South Africa, and this map right here shows you a few things. You see that this map shows you Jordan right here. That's very interesting. But not only that, it also shows you what? Pools and fountains. Now, why is that very important? Because we know scripturally speaking, the real true land was known for its pools, like what? The pools of Bethesda. And we've already shown you the real scriptural Bethesda in this video covering the true documentary. But moving forward, today we're focusing specifically on Jordan and where the real Jordan is. And again, remember what we've been telling you all throughout the video, the truth that's hidden in plain sight. Now you'll see that here's Jordan, here are the fountains and the pools. That's where? In southern Africa right here. But if you keep going, the map also shows some very interesting things such as jackals right here. Jackals, does that sound like a scriptural match? Sounds like a scriptural match to me. And lions as well, because the Lion of Yahudah, the Lion of Judah. Where can you find lions predominantly today? Where can you find jackals predominantly today? Can you find them in that fake region? No, you cannot. So as you can see, this map is very important for a few reasons that have been highlighted right here. Now we've also gone over in the documentary regarding some of the cities when it comes to the tribes, namely in Yahusha, Joshua chapter 18 verses 21 through 25 when it has to do with Banyamayan or Benjamin cities. Now we've talked about ones like Jericho, Bethel, Gibeon, and Ramah. And the reason that's so important is because you see Jericho and Bethel or Bethel right there. We've gone over Gibeon extensively and how Gibeon is a town today where? In so-called southern Namibia, right in front of our faces. But now we're going to be taking a look at these maps and how they relate to Jordan as well. And once again, folks, you have to also understand the fact that when it came to these cities and the allotments and stuff that are highlighted and listed in the book of Yahusha, Joshua, it's well over hundreds. There is no way, absolutely no way that the 12 tribes of Yasharal that have been allotted those cities could be in a small area that's the size of New Jersey in Palestine in that fake region. Absolutely no way. That is impossible. Why? Because they're lying. Why? Because their lies have been exposed and the truth has finally been revealed after all these years. Now this is an important map from 1905 and we're going to be going over it extensively in a moment to come. Why is this map so important? Because it shows Jericho, Hebron, Jordan, and Bethel that are situated nearby. Remember Hebron and how we talked about that with Mamre and the land of Canaan in so-called southern Africa? Wow, and we see it on a map right here near today's Pretoria. Wow, that's not a surprise or coincidence. You want to know why they're there searching for the gold in this region? Could it be the gold of scripture? Wow. But here you see Jericho over here, Hebron over here. You even see a second Bethany in Beersheba, second from the one in Namibia. Then you see Jordan over here and Bethel right here, Bethel over there. So you see how they're in close proximity near Pretoria and Johannesburg today in so-called South Africa. They're together situated in Southern Africa. Now here are some more contextual scriptural verses that also back this up in Yahusha, Joshua chapter 7 verse 2, where it says, "And Yahusha sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel." So again, pay attention to the key words, Jericho, Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, "Go up and view the country." And the men went up and viewed Ai. Yahusha, Joshua chapter 13 verse 32, which is Manasseh's portion or Manasseh. These are the countries which Moses did distribute for inheritance in the plains of Moab on the other side Jordan by Jericho eastward. Other side Jordan by Jericho. So we see Jordan and Jericho have to be close by. Now we also have Yahusha, Joshua chapter 16, verses 1 through 3. Now again, we're not going to know everything specifically, the exact precise locations of everything to a T, but the purpose of this is to show you the region and getting an idea of the region, a more accurate area, because it says, and the lot for the children of Yahusha, for Joseph, went out from the Jordan by Jericho, so again, Jordan and Jericho, to the waters of Jericho on the east, to the wilderness going up from Jericho through the mountains to Bethel. And you'll see that so-called South Africa is a very mountainous region, and went out from Bethel to Luz, and passed over to the border of the Arkites at Ataroth, and went down westward to the boundary of the Yapalites, as far as the boundary of lower by Yath Karun to Gazar, and it ended at the sea. So again, contextually speaking, if we know that it's within this region over here, towards this region in so-called South Africa, again with Canaan, the land of Canaan, all within the same region, so could this be potentially referring to the sea of Scripture? Remember how those key places were mentioned in the verses that we just looked at, and in a map that's well over 100 years old, we see Jericho, Jordan, and Bethel or Bethal that are nearby. There's Jordan, there's Bethel or Bethal, and then here's Jericho over here with Hebron that's not too far. We have some more scriptural verses as references right here. Again, pay attention to key words. That's very important when it comes to this subject. Yahusha, Joshua chapter 20, verse 8, when it comes to cities of refuge. And beyond the Jordan, by Jericho eastward, they appointed Batsar in the wilderness on the plain from the tribe of Reuben, and Ramoth and Gilad from the tribe of Gad, and Golan and Bashan from the tribe of Manasseh or Manasseh. And then 1 Chronicles 6:78, which says, and from beyond the Jordan by Jericho on the east side of the Jordan, from the tribe of Reuben. So again, 2 or more witnesses to establish every matter. So you see right here that what Reuben is mentioned when it comes to Jordan and Jericho. Now we also had gone over Reuben being shown on ancient maps. And that's really how this search works, folks, because again, this is not just a search one map and that's it. You have to continuously search and then put the pieces together. It's a never-ending search. You have to keep searching, like the scripture says, seek and you shall find. Knock and it shall be answered unto you. The reign of Shamayim is like what? Finding treasure, searching for treasure. That's exactly what Yahuwah wants us to do. But interestingly enough, other ancient maps also show Reuben in close proximity to this region in so-called southern South Africa. So we have 2 maps to establish this. The first map is right here from A.K. Johnston that was done in 1893. You see Reuben right here. It's shown near Lesotho, which is a country within so-called South Africa. Now here's Reuben right here that's shown on this map. Again, within the same region within the Jericho and Jordan. Now keep Lesotho in mind, because when I show you Google Maps and where they pinpoint the real Jordan River, you'll see it's right near Lesotho too. But moving forward, that's the first thing to keep in mind, is that here's Reuben shown on an ancient map. Why in the world would they put this on a map? Could it be because they were trying to scout out the real scriptural location? It's looking like it. Not only that, but another thing that's very important about this map and about this region is how mountainous it is, because doesn't the mountains surround Jerusalem according to Psalms chapter 125? Well, here, look at the Quath Lamba. The Quath Lamba Mountains are mountains that are known in Lesotho. We've also gone over the Drakensberg, but the Quath Lamba are mountains, and it's a very mountainous region in this area known as Lesotho. It might be a small country, but it's very mountainous. But then there was also a second map that also shows Reuben right here. Now this is from the same cartographer, A.K. Johnston, that was done in 1899. So still well over 100 years ago. So you see Reuben with scriptural locations Shiloh, Hermon, Moriah, the second Bethesda, and Berea as well. And you can find Berea in Acts chapter 17, verses 10 through 13. So there's Berea over there, along with Berea over here in this area. Now, Basutolan right there, that is talking about what? That's talking about Lesotho as it's known today. Now, here's Reuben over here towards the southeastern side of Lesotho. Now, again, pay careful attention to Lesotho. It's very important when it comes to our search for the Jordan River and the real Jordan River even to this day. That what Reuben is shown along with Berea. You also have Berea over there. You have Moriah right here. You have Hermon right here. Shiloh's over here. And there's Bethesda right there. Now there is another Bethesda that's shown near the real Jerusalem towards the Orange River, towards the northern part of so-called South Africa in a different map. But the reason I'm showing you this is because also pay careful attention. You see how mountainous this region is? You see these mountains over here? The Machacha Mountains that are located right here, you see that mountains right there, and then also what we just went over, the Quathlamba Mountains that are right here, Quathlamba Mountains over here, all within the same region, all within the same area, once again proving that this area is very mountainous indeed. But over here you see Reuben, once again, all within the same area, all within the same proximity. We see Jericho, Jordan, and Reuben. Now, as you'll see soon enough, earlier the other map from 1905 also shows the real scriptural Jerusalem, and we're going to be going over that and taking a look at that. But I just wanted to give you this so that you can see with both your eyes what Reuben, Berea, Moriah, Hermon, Shiloh, and Bethesda, all located within where? Within Lesotho, a very mountainous region indeed. Now in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to outline and go over extensively the Jordan maps that have been found so far. Now so far there have been 5 ancient Jordan maps that have been found, and we're going to go over them together, and we're also going to link them in the description box below. However, we're also going to go over a bonus 18th map of Jerusalem that has been found now so far, the earliest that has been found. So it was originally 1854. But now we found the map in 1844, and we're going to be going over that one later on. Now we could go on and on about these maps. We're going to go over it together, but again, we will link it in the description box below just so that you can see it for yourself. Now, we're going to go in the year of the order from oldest to newest when it comes to maps showing the Jordan. Now, the oldest so far found is from 1860, so well over 150 years ago. Now, this is a map of the Cape of Good Hope, and you can read the description here if you scroll all the way down. This comes from Geographicus.com, which is known for ancient maps and antiquity maps. Now you will see that these maps have also been published in different atlases, and also during this time that these maps are very expensive. Why is that the case, and why were they selling these maps? Because they didn't want certain folk to know about it. But the truth is finally being revealed to you today. But it was a firm that was established on November 20th, 1809 by John Blackie Sr., and this was from Blackie and Sons. Now that's the name of the cartographer, and again, this comes all the way from 1860. Now, when you take a look at this map, you start to notice some things about it. Now, before we go over where Jordan actually is on the map, here I've enlarged it so you can see. So this is the region of Southern Africa right here, Cape of Good Hope. And again, I'll link it in the description box so you can take a look at it. And if you find anything that is noteworthy or truthworthy that has not been covered or talked about in previous videos when it comes to these maps, please let us know your findings in the comment box below. But as you can see right here, here is a map of Berea. So this map shows Berea right there. Remember, we just went over that. But if you keep going, you start to see more scriptural regions like Bethany over here, Moriah right there. We're going to be talking more about Moriah in a moment to come, near the Caledon River. Now again, names have been changed and everything like that, so this river could have been known by a different name. But there's Hermon over there, which is also a scriptural town and a scriptural location. You see Hebron right here. You see Beersheba over there. Wow, scriptural towns. You see Carmel right here. Wow, very interesting and suspicious indeed. But then as we go further towards the west, and we're going to keep going, oh, there's Hephzibah. That's also a scriptural town that we've gone over in the documentary before. But as we keep going and keep going and keep scrolling, you'll start to see also Jordan over here somewhere. And again, we're going over this together just so that you can have a better idea of these maps if you have not already searched them on your own time. But like I said, we'll keep going until we find it. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And if we keep going, you see Jordan located right here. That's west of Fraserburg. Now there's Jordan right there on this ancient map, and this is as far as we can go to enlarge it. Now you'll see that Jordan is located in this area, again in southern so-called South Africa right here. And you'll also see too that what Cana right there, K-A-N-N-A, Cana Crawl, more commonly known as what, Canaan, Jordan. Wow, that's not a surprise or a coincidence either. And then if you keep going, you see jackals right here. Sounds like a scriptural match to me. Now here's another map, and again we're going in chronological order based on the oldest from oldest to newest of these 5 maps that show Jordan. So we just showed you the first one. Now the second one comes from James Wild, who came from 1864. That shows the map, again over 150 years old. Now here's Jordan right here. The map is called South Africa as it's commonly known, and this is from the David Rumsey Historical Map Collection. Now again, I've linked all of this in the description box below, so if you would like, you can click on the maps in the description box and follow along with us so that you can see it too with both your eyes open, so that the truth will be revealed to you today. But what you will find out is that in this same region there's Jordan, and then there's what, Cana right there too, Cana or Canaan. Now by the way, this was the map that was shown in the documentary as we went over earlier, but you also see jackals right here, Jordan, Cana, jackals. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. You see lion right here. You see the pools over here. Sounds like a scriptural match to me. Now, if you keep scrolling on this map, if you go towards the east, you'll find something that I think is very interesting and suspicious indeed to note, and that's this town right here. It's called Tsetse. You see it right here. We're going to scroll in just a little bit more so you can get a better picture of it. But right there it says Tsetse. Why is that so important? Because doesn't scripture mention about wearing tzitzit on the corners of your garments? Doesn't it mention that in Numbers chapter 15 verses 38 through 40, and also Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy as well? That's just interesting to know. But anyway, moving forward, you'll also see that this map shows what, Moriah right there, again along the area of what, the area of Lesotho, a second Bethany, because remember, as we've gone over, there are actually 2 of them, just like there are 2 Beershebas. The other one is where, in Namibia, but there's Bethany. There's the second Beersheba that's located right here. There's Bethesda right there. And then there's another scriptural town that's located in the book of Yahudiath, the book of Judith, chapter 4, verses 6 through 7, Bethuli, or also known as Bethulia, another book that they took out of scripture. Why? Because they don't want folk knowing this type of truth. But that's another scriptural town right there. So again, is that a surprise or a coincidence that all of these are scriptural towns? And in this video specifically, I'm going to prove to you how they were not founded by missionaries, because that's the lie that they tell you, that oh, these scriptural towns, that they were named after missionaries and they were founded by missionaries and named after them. I'm going to share with you and prove to you without a doubt that that is a lie. Now, the third map was also shown in the documentary. It comes from A.J. Johnson, that was dated back in 1886. Now, we've gone over why that year is so important in our video covering the true locations in the true Hayakal, the temple. and where the real Jerusalem temple is located, the scriptural one anyway, because if you really think that it's that third one and oh, they're building a third temple with the fake Jewish and that's the real one, it's time to think again. But what you'll see in this map is that it not only shows the Jordan that's located right here, as you can see, but it also shows Jerusalem as well. Jerusalem, Jordan, Jerusalem, Jordan, Jerusalem, Jordan, all within the same vicinity, all within the same area, all within the same region. Where? In southern Africa. And if we just zoom in a little bit more, so if we zoom in, that way you can see it a little bit clearly, there's the Jordan right here, as you see, west of Fraserburg, that's located right there, all within the same region and within the same proximity. And then if you go a little bit more north, you'll see the Jerusalem right here. And again, we've already did the documentary that showed the 16 maps, but then with an additional map to make 17. And now today, later on, I'm going to show you another map that has been found from 1844 that also shows Jerusalem in the same proximity, in the same area, the same region along the Orange River that divides Namibia and so-called South Africa today. There's also this town called Pella, and we've gone over why that town is so important, because that town was one of the 10 cities of refuge after Jerusalem was destroyed. And again, please keep in mind that Jerusalem itself is much bigger than this little dot on this map. The scriptural Jerusalem was way bigger than this. And remember how in the True Jerusalem Hayakal, or the temple video, we also showed you what? We showed you Solomon's Wall as well, located in Botswana as it's known today. Why would it be called that? And then this map, we showed you Hephzibah, Bethany, Beersheba, just a few more scriptural towns as you keep going. And again, you can take a look at this on your own time, but that's the third map that shows the Jordan. Now, another point I wanted to make about that 1860 map of the Jordan, the very first Jordan map that we showed you, another thing I wanted to make known to you is this right here. So you see how the Jordan is located right here, but if you zoom out just a little bit, you not only see Jordan, you also see up here, right here, Abraham's Well, Jackals, Abraham's Well, Jordan, Jackals, and how many fountains within this region. What is this trying to tell you? This is not a surprise or a coincidence. So now the fourth map is this one from A.K. Johnston that was published in 1893. You can find it at the David Rumsey Historical Map Collection. Now you'll see Jordan also within this region here. Now if we scroll in a little bit more and zoom in just so that we can see the locations, and if we keep scrolling and keep scrolling, we'll eventually find it. Now it's interesting because about this map, we find it actually in this region over here towards the east. You see Saul right there? Where have we heard that before? But if you keep going towards Pretoria and Johannesburg, you'll see on this map right here, there's Jordan. Now they spell it Jardan, but you'll actually know that it's Jordan. And we're going to be talking more about that in a moment. Near Bethel right here, you see Bethel Jardan, Bethel Jardan. And just for more context, Beersheba is located over here, the second one, and then Bethany over here, the ones in so-called South Africa. Now again, there are ones located in southern Namibia as well, but that's, of course, we gone over that in the Jerusalem video itself. Now, as you'll see, it's located within one of the capitals of so-called South Africa, all within the same region. So if we zoom in just a little bit more so you can get a better picture of it, there's Jordan. It's spelled a little bit differently, but it's near Bethel, and we've already gone over the preliminary verses from the book of Yahusha or Joshua about this. But we went over another place that also shows something on this map. And what place was that? Well, if we keep scrolling and if we go all the way down, we'll actually find this. So if we go to today's Lesotho, we'll be able to find it because there's Moriah, and then we also went over Berea. There's Hermon. There's another Beersheba and Hebron over here with Bethesda. You see all of these scriptural towns located within the same region. But if we keep going, you'll see what? Reuben right here. Remember we went over that from 1893 in our documentary? So there's Reuben. So this map that contains Reuben also contains Jordan. So you see that on this map, Reuben and Jordan are located on it, along with other scriptural towns such as Bethesda, Shiloh as well, Hermon, Moriah, Beersheba, Hebron, and many others. If you go further west, you'll see that there's Carmel right here too. Carmel is a scriptural town in a scriptural region as well, along with Bethuli also that we went over. So again, we have Bethuli, Carmel, Beersheba, Hebron. We have over here Bethesda, Shiloh, Hermon, Moriah, and then also Berea that's located here. Here's a town called Cana, which also could be a scriptural town too. And then like we went over, there's Reuben right there, all of which containing on the same map. If we keep going, there's Bethlehem right there. That's interesting, because if we keep going where we just were and where we just started, we'll see what? We will see Jordan and Bethel or Bethal that's also located on this exact same map in the same region over here. There's Jordan and there's Bethel or Bethal. Not a surprise or a coincidence. Then the fifth and final map found so far of the Jordan is right here from 1905. Now we've gone over this map in the documentary. This map is very important for a ton of reason. This map comes from Andre and Scoble that was published in 1905 from the David Rumsey Historical Map Collection. Now what you'll find and see on this map is here's Jordan right here. You see Jordan and Bethel as we went over, or Bethal, Jordan, Bethel, that's near Johannesburg, just towards the east. Now what you'll see about these 5 maps is that they place Jordan in interesting locations. So this map right here, along with the previous one, shows Jordan towards the east of so-called South Africa, right above Bethel or Bethal, just east of Johannesburg. But then the other maps show it towards the western side over here. So could it be possible that the Jordan extended all the way from this side and went this way as a river? Could that be possible, that it expanded once upon a time the entire region of so-called South Africa? And then if you keep looking and going forward, you'll see other scriptural towns that we went over in the documentary, such as Jericho right here and Hebron right there. There's Bethany and Beersheba again, and we went over that earlier in this video about Jericho and Hebron, why that's so important for Jericho to be right there, and then over here for Jordan and Bethel to be over there, according to the book of Yahusha, the book of Joshua, and how they all connect. But what happens when you keep scrolling? There's a Pella located right there. You start to see more scriptural towns and more scriptural regions. And again, if you find anything that's noteworthy or truthworthy when it comes to locations, or just want to let us know what you find from your search of these maps, please let us know in the comment box below. But what happens when you go towards Namibia as it's known today? What will you find in this region? Well, it just so happens if you keep going, you will find and you will see the town called Jerusalem right there. You see Jerusalem right there. And as we noted about this map in the documentary so far, this is the only map that contains Jericho, Jerusalem, and Jordan, all 3 together, along with the plethora of other scriptural towns and scriptural regions and locations. So you see Jerusalem that's located over there. And then if you go towards the north, you also find in Namibia Bethany, Beersheba, and Gibeon as well. Now, in other maps, it's actually spelled Beersheba along with Bethany, as we've gone over in our documentary. You can take a look at all of the 18 maps and you'll be able to see it of Jerusalem with the same region and Gibeon right here. And we've talked about that with the meteorites, so-called, which we know are the large hailstones that confirm Yahusha, Joshua chapter 10, verses 10 through 12. Again, if you're wondering what I'm talking about, please take a look at our videos that have been done extensively on this subject that are linked in the description box below as well. So again, truth right in front of you, hidden truth right here, because they're even telling you where the real Gibeon is. They've already outlined, and they're telling you with both your eyes open where the real Gibeon is and where these real scriptural locations are. But do you see it? Are your eyes open where you see it, or are you still buying into the lies and the deception of the Zionists and what they want you to believe with their fake land? Because here's Jerusalem right here. Now, of these maps, of the 18 maps that show Jerusalem, 2 of them also include Jordan. This one and then the one that we also went over that was from 1886, this one. So these 2 maps show Jerusalem and Jordan together thus far. But speaking of Jerusalem, there's also an 18th map that shows Jerusalem too, but it also shows something else that matches scripture quite well. This map is sourced from the Stanford Libraries. As you can see right here, it shows Maps of Africa, an online exhibit, a digital collection of African maps at the Stanford University Libraries. So you see that this source is sourced from Stanford University. Now, as you see right here, this is the actual map, but here gives a little bit more details about it. And again, I'll link it in the description box below. It will be located with the list of 18 maps of Jerusalem, and it will be number 18 in the description box for your own reference. Now pay careful attention how this map comes all the way from 1844, so far the earliest map of Jerusalem found, and it's by James Wild. Now we're going to go over James Wild a little bit and James Wild's connection with the so-called Queen of England, and why Britain has been so interested in this region for the past 100, if not 200 years, and why they've been instituting so many wars and perpetuating them in this region. Why? Because they know the truth about this land. What am I talking about? Well, just take a look at this map and you'll see right here when you zoom in that what? Vredenburg or Jerusalem? Now we saw that on the 1854 map and we went over how Vredenburg means what? Peace mountain, or mountain of peace, mountain of shalom, and the map is entitled so-called South Africa, but you see right there Jerusalem right here. Now if you keep going, you see walls over there. Why would it show walls in this region? Could it be referring to the walls of Jerusalem? Interesting how it's known as Death Valley. But what happens when you go a little bit more towards the east? What does it also show? It shows Jerusalem right here, but then it shows desolate plains, Jerusalem. Doesn't the word of our Creator say that the land would be what? Desolate, without inhabitant? Desolate Jerusalem. Desolate Jerusalem. There is a scriptural match with witnesses, multiple witnesses to confirm, because we just went over those verses about what? About Jerusalem, the real land, being a desolation, aka what? The area region known as the Kalahari Desert. Desolate Jerusalem. Desolate Jerusalem. More proof and confirmation of the real scriptural Jerusalem, with not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5 maps, but 18 different maps and witnesses to confirm this. But now we're going to take a look at more of James Wild, and we're going to tell you more about how James Wild was what? A geographer to the so-called queen. And when you understand the spiritual significance and who the queen really is, that it's not really even a queen, it's not even really a person, then you'll understand the real bloodline, the satanic serpent bloodline. You'll start to understand how spiritual this really is, because what? Geographer to the queen. So we see that what? James Wild, the cartographer who drew those maps of so-called South Africa, has direct ties with the royal families, direct ties with the queen, direct ties with the satanic bloodline. So why do you think it's so important for Britain to know about the real scriptural Jerusalem? Why is that so important? For world domination. That's why. Because as we went over in the documentary, by the end of the 1800s and the early 1900s, Britain practically controlled more than half of Africa, primarily the southern half. Why do you think that's the case? Because over there was the land of Ophir, the land of gold in today's Zimbabwe, and other scriptural regions and locations like Sudan with Babylon. But they don't want you to know that. They want you to think that Babylon's in Iraq. They want you to think that the fake Jerusalem is the real one in Palestine, even though it is not. That's what they want you to know. But now the truth is being revealed to you today. So you see right here, James Wild was a British geographer and map seller, best known for Wild's Great Globe. And we know the truth about the globe and the truth about the plain truth. But moving forward, it says here that Wild was elected as Fellow of the Royal Geographical Society in 1839 and was appointed geographer to who? Queen Victoria and Prince Albert. You see why that's so important? Because they had direct ties. So when they were appointed in 1839, James Wild then scouted the land, scouted southern Africa. They knew, by the way, that that's the true land. They knew that that's the true location. So they scouted it and they found the map and they drew the map of Jerusalem with the desolation, and they know that that's a scriptural match, just like how they know the real scriptural people and how the real scriptural people are so-called African Americans, so-called black people and Negroes that have been scattered throughout the four corners of the earth in slavery and through slave ships. Just like they know that, they know our true land as well. They know this. And just like every other single nation, they know where their true land is. Just like the Japanese, they can tell you where their land is. The Chinese, they can tell you where their land is. All of these different nations, they can tell you where their land is, and they can pinpoint it on a map with no problem. But what about Yasharal? So as you can see, there is a ginormous conspiracy going on to try to keep this information from you. Not anymore, because as we just shown you with the map, there's Jerusalem right here, and then what? Desolate plains, because they know that that is the scriptural match. They know that this area, all of this is the scriptural Jerusalem. They know this and are well aware of this, but they don't want you to know. Keep the secrets, even though what? The truth is right in plain sight. The truth is right in front of you. Now, before I show you the Jordan River on Google Maps and a Google Maps location of the real Jordan River, what I'm going to show you right now is what? Stanford Libraries, a bonus source. And the reason we're going to go over this is because, again, folks, the narrative that they like to give with these towns and locations when it comes to the real scriptural town is that, oh, they were found by missions, and oh, they were found by missionaries, and oh, that's how they were discovered. But is that really the truth? Because I'm going to prove to you that that is not only not true, but that it is a made-up narrative and it is a forged narrative in order to fit the whitewashed agendas and the whitewashed lies and the fake land and the fake Jerusalem, and in order to take people's attention off the real scriptural location and place all their focus and attention on the lies. Because if the Zionists can get you to keep thinking about the false land and keep getting you to go there and paying your money and profiting using these organizations and these 501c3 entities, then that's exactly what they're going to do. Not anymore, because once again, we're here at Stanford Libraries, Maps of Africa, an online exhibit, a digital collection of African maps at the Stanford University Libraries. And the reason that we're here is because I'm showing you this map, the Castle Line map of so-called South Africa. Now, this map was featured in the documentary. And if you remember the documentary, we went over the verses that cover Moriah and Mount Moriah, because this map shows you Mount Moriah. But there's something else that's very important that we did not cover in the documentary that we're going to cover here about this map, this Castle Line map. Because what you're going to find out is that it was imprinted in 1800. Pay careful attention to that, 1800, because this is going to expose the lies and the liars as well. So this map comes all the way from over 200 years ago in 1800. This is very important, what I'm about to share with you. So you see right here, here's Mount Moriah along the area of known today as Lesotho. Here's Mount Moriah, but there are many other scriptural towns and regions that are located on this map. So if we zoom in a little bit, you actually are able to see it. Mount Moriah is right there. And then we're in Lesotho right now. So if we keep going, you see other places like Bethesda. There's Bethesda right there. If we scroll over a little bit further, we also see other scriptural towns. I'm actually going to scroll out a little bit just so that it's faster to scroll on here so that you see it. There's Shiloh right there, which is a scriptural town right here. Now we'll scroll in a little bit more. So there's Shiloh over there. So we see Mount Moriah over here, and then we have Moriah right there, Bethesda over there that's located in what's commonly known today in Lesotho. You see Jacob right here. You see Bethany over here, Eden right there. You see Bethuli right here, which is a scriptural town as well from the book of Yahudiath, the book of Judith. But if we keep going, you start to see some other things about this too. Now, this is the area in southeastern Namibia. This area right here contains the real Jerusalem. But pay careful attention. Again, remember how we told you that this map is all the way from 1800. All right, so when you take a look at it, you see other places such as Pella, and then if you keep going towards Namibia, you see Bethany, Beersheba, Gibeon right here from 1800, and you also see, if you keep going, Rehoboth, which is another scriptural town as well. Rehoboth, that's also seen in the book of Brashith, Genesis, and we went over that from the documentary also. And then if you go further south of this map, you'll see places like this. You'll see Philadelphia, which we've gone over before. Mamre right here. Remember Mamre in Canaland from the 1893 map? Oh, well, it just so happened to be shown on a map 93 years earlier as of 1800, the imprint. So you see Mamre, Philadelphia, and then you also see Sharon, also or known as Sarin, and we've gone over that in the documentary right there. There's Sharon, or known as the Rose of Sharon, and then another scriptural town called Elam that's located right here, that's a little bit east of Cape Town today. So why is this very important? Pay careful attention to the towns that we just named. So Pella, Gibeon, Beersheba, Moriah, Bethlehem, Bethuli, and Elam. Pay careful attention to these 7 towns specifically. It might actually be more, but these are the 7 that I found so far. Again, pay careful attention how this was imprinted in 1800, because you're going to see something that is very noteworthy indeed. Because again, they went there with an agenda in mind. These maps are not lying, but what the lie is that they're giving you the false narrative that these scriptural towns that, oh, they were named after and founded by missionaries. Well, is that really the case? Because when were these missionaries founded? Alright, so as proof, we're going to start with Pella first. So here's Pella right here. And again, on other ancient maps, the other 18, Jerusalem is located in this region in southeastern Namibia. Now, Pella is right here. Once again, this map comes all the way from 1800. Now again, what's the lie is the narrative that these towns, these scriptural towns, because these are the actual scriptural towns, the lie that they tell you is that they were founded by missionaries. No, they were not. They were already scriptural towns before they were claimed to be founded by missionaries. What do I mean and what am I talking about? Because again, this was back in 1800. When you go to this source right here, from the Dictionary of Southern African Place Names, again, the same source that we went over for the land of Canaan, again, what they tell us right here is that this was a Roman Catholic, the beast known as Rome, mission statement that's northwest of Pofadder. It was established as a station of the London Missionary Society about 1806, but was taken over by the Rhenish Missionary Society until 1869, and then by the Roman Catholics in 1874. Why are the Roman Catholics so interested and intrigued with this region? Why are they over here to begin with? Because they know it's of scriptural origin, referring to Pella around where? The Jordan River. We just saw the Jordan River in this location with ancient maps within the same region. Wow, that's not a surprise or a coincidence. But what? They're claiming that Pella was founded and established as a mission station all the way in 1806. But how can that be when the map we just looked at shows that Pella was already a town in 1800? So you mean to tell me it became a town 6 years later? That doesn't add up. Not only that, it gets worse, because not only were the Roman Catholics over there, the beast known as Rome, but what? When you look at Pella today, there's a cathedral. There were churches that were built. Why would they need to build churches in these scriptural regions? Could it be because they were utilizing these churches in order to administer their dirty work by hiding the maps, burning the original maps, murdering the people, raping the people, slaughtering the people, and then promoting their false narrative and promoting the missionary narrative, and then using Christianity to brainwash whitewash people into making them think that, oh, these missionaries were over here to promote the great news and promote CHRIST and promote JC. No, they were over there to murder and lie and to rape the people and to hide the true locations and promote their false fraudulent one. And then use Christianity to support their missionaries' narrative, even though we know that what they were over there for an agenda and for a purpose. And not only was it the missionary societies, it was also the Roman Catholics. They all involved. They're all in on this scheme. What did they do? Psalms chapter 82, come and let them wipe out the name of Yasharal so that it's remembered no more. How they have conspired together with one another to hide this information and to keep it hidden, not anymore. So Pella is the first narrative that does not add up, because as we just went over, this map shows Pella right here in 1800. But then when you look at this, when they claim that it was established as a station for a missionary society, they claim that it was established 6 years later in 1806. So how in the world does it show up on a map from 1800, but then here it says 6 years later? It would not show up then if it wasn't known then. Now, prayerfully, you will be able to follow along with this very important concept when it comes to maps and naming maps and when something is founded. Because again, if you find something or if you name something after yourself, that means that it wasn't named that before. That means it should not be on the map before that time that you named it there or that you placed it there. What am I talking about? We're going to do this again with Gibeon. Now, again, this is from a reliable source, folks, by the way. This is from Stanford University. This map comes from Stanford, which is a very well-known institution and very well-known educational institution, from 1800 from the imprint. All right, so we see that this is the same map, and you see Gibeon right here. You see Gibeon right here from 1800, 200 years ago. Well, that's interesting, because when you take a look here at the Historical Dictionary of Namibia, and when you take a look at page 147, this is what you find. Gibeon, founded as a mission station in 1862, it was the chief village of the Witbois and the headquarters of their chief, Hendrik Witbooi, as well as his great-grandson and namesake. How can it have been founded as a mission statement in 1862? You mean to tell me it was founded 62 years after it was named on this map back in 1800? How can that be? That means it wouldn't have existed according to this source until 1862. But according to this source, Gibeon was already a town and already established and founded well before that. Why? Because they know that it's the scriptural one and their narrative is proven to be false. The map is not lying. The narrative that it was founded by a mission, that is the lie. Again, you have to use discernment and read between the lines when it comes to this, because there's been so much hidden, so much removed, and so much that they've been trying to keep away that they had to make up their own narrative by these mission stations. And why is it that all of these places, these scriptural towns, by the way, why is it that practically all of them, according to their narratives, oh, they were founded by missionaries, oh, they were mission stations, oh, were they really? And so we're going to keep moving forward, because you see it again with Beersheba. Now, other maps actually spell it out as Beersheba, but of course, because of language and things like that, some spell it like this, Beersheba, as it's commonly known today. But this is the real scriptural Beersheba. How do I know? Because again, this map from Stanford University comes all the way from 1800. You'll see Beersheba that's located right here in southern Namibia, as it's commonly known today. Well, according to the map, it's already here. But when you look at Wikipedia, they tell you something different. The lies and the narrative that they tell you. The lies that they tell you is that the foundation of Beersheba is recorded as of 1850, when Rhenish missionary Samuel Hahn founded the missionary station and gave it a biblically inspired name. In 1857, a church was built. Why was a church built there? In order to hide things, in order to rape and murder and plunder the people, in order to promote Christianity and their lies, in order to whitewash the narratives, in order to spark war and genocide within this region for the natives who knew the truth about this land, just as what happened in the late 1880s? Oh, wow, very interesting and suspicious indeed. be because it's the same one. So again, they tell you that it was 1850, but if you don't prefer Wikipedia, that's all right, because guess what? The same source that we just looked at, the Historical Dictionary of Namibia, they also tell you the same thing. And now we're on page 39, and when you look at this page, it tells you the exact same thing, that what, supervised by Reverend Samuel Hahn, who is said to have given it the biblical name. And what? This claims that Reverend Samuel Hahn from this Rhenish mission had given the name Beersheba or Beersheba, but Wikipedia just said that it was in 1850 when Beersheba was given that name. But according to this map from 1800, so from 50 years earlier, Beersheba was already established as a town and was already given that name. Do you see how they're lying about this? Do you see that their narrative is a fraud because they know that this is the real scriptural land and that the scriptural land had already been established with its scriptural name? So again, we're using their own sources to prove that they're liars and that the real scriptural locations, that their narrative that, oh, it was founded by missionaries is in fact a lie, that these were already scriptural towns that had already been established and known by and known as before that time. Now here is that same map. Now we're going to go over once again Mount Moriah. You see Mount Moriah right there, a scriptural mountain, along with Moriah right here, but we're going to specifically focus on this town over here, Moriah. Now again, this is documented as of 1800. You see Moriah right there? And again, if like we went over in the actual documentary, you see how they're documenting all of these resources such as coal, and if you keep going, gold in different places. Why are they doing that? You see Bethel over there, or scriptural Bethel right there near the Jordan. You see all of this, but what happens with Moriah specifically? Because if we keep going just where we were, there's Moriah right there, and then if you scroll a little bit over, you see Mount Moriah over there. So we have, once again for reference, Moriah, and I'll zoom out a little bit, Moriah and Mount Moriah, Moriah, Mount Moriah. Now again, this is from 1800 from Stanford University, but when we go to that dictionary of Southern African place names, and when we look up Moriah, here it is. So we see that it's what? The headquarters of the Lesotho Evangelical Church. Oh, another church. Why would it be the headquarters? Could it be because they know something? 43 kilometers south of Maseru. And then if we keep going, which is the capital, by the way. So if we go to the next page and keep scrolling at about page 314 to 316, we then see 47 kilometers northeast of Mafeking. It was established in 1833 by the missionaries, and that are their names. And today, a well-known education center, and derived, of course, because it's the real scriptural Moriah, from Brashith Genesis 22:2 and 2 Chronicles 3:1, provided by Yahuwah. Again, excuse the pagan title. But do you see how very interesting and suspicious indeed this is? Because they tell you right here that this was established in 1833. This source just tells you that missionaries established it in 1833. How can that be when, according to this map, it was already established in 1800? Because there's Maseru, which is the capital of Lesotho today, and here's Moriah right here, not too far from 1800. So how in the world was it established as a missionary 33 years later when it was already a town? But wait, there's more. Oh, there's always more. We're just getting started once again, because we're going to see the same thing again for the town known as Bethlehem as well. So we see Bethlehem clearly on this map that is sourced from Stanford University from 1800 and printed as of 1800. So we clearly see that from Stanford, 1800, Bethlehem, right here. But when you go to the Dictionary of Southern African Place Names by the Human Sciences Research Council, you'll see that it says right here that Bethlehem was established in 1860 on the farm and proclaimed in 1884. And of course, they know that it's the scriptural town, the birthplace of Yahusha, house of bread, Bayathlakam, house of bread, because wheat was found to thrive there. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. But do you see that how Bethlehem, and how they claim it was established in 1860, but how is that the case? Because 60 years earlier, it's on a map right here, already established as of 1800. Somebody's lying. You see Abraham's crawl right here? You see that just like Abraham's well as we saw in the other map? Wow, why all of these references to Abraham in this region? That's not a coincidence, is it? You see Bethany over here? I'm telling you, what is the bigger agenda? You see Bethuli right here? Because this is the other one too. Because again, this map is from 1800 and was sourced from Stanford University, the Castle Line map of so-called South Africa that also shows the real Mount Moriah. But you see Bethuli, that's a scriptural town. But what is the narrative that they're going to give us for Bethuli? Well, let's find out, because they tell us that Bethuli, they claim that it was a mission from the same source that we just read, but then they say that a mission which had been established by the Reverend Clark of the London Missionary Society in 1829 was taken over by Jean-Pierre Pelissier of the French Missionary Society in 1835 and was named something else. And you see Yahudiath, it derives from a scriptural town, Bethulia, of course, that is from Yahudiath, Judith chapter 4, verses 6 through 7. And again, this was actually linked in the description box. We'll link it when it comes to Canaan, but you can take a look at these pages on your own time and you can see for yourself, because it's all linked in the description box that's readily available at your fingertips. Because what are they telling you? They claim that it was established by the Missionary Society in 1829. How is that the case? Because this map from 1800 shows it right here, 29 years earlier. Now this will be the seventh and final one that we do today. Again, there could be even more scriptural regions that are like the same thing, that do the same thing. Again, that will require more further research, but I just wanted to mention this last one, which is Elam right here, because that also is a scriptural town, and you're going to see that in just a moment to come. And then there are other scriptural towns such as Mamre and Philadelphia mentioned on the same map that comes from 1800. But the reason this is so important is because, again, this is Elam right here. So we see it on this map from 1800 that was imprinted as of 1800. But then when we go to this narrative right here, we see that they claim that it was established as a Moravian mission station in 1824, and it was given this scriptural name, which means palm trees right here. Established in 1824? How is that the case, and how can that be when 24 years earlier we see it right here as plain as day? There's Elam, the same Elam, but here it shows from the imprint of 1800, but then this claims that it was established in 1824. So how in the world is it on a map 24 years earlier? Unless the missionaries' narrative is in fact a lie and they're actually showing the truth that is right in front of you. And for more confirmation, in case you're skeptical, you see how it says 32 kilometers southwest of Bredasdorp right there? Well, on the map, there's Bredasdorp right there, and it's southwest of it. So it's obviously talking about this Elam, but this Elam is from 1800, but they claim that it was established in 1824. 24 years later, that's not making any sense. Very interesting and suspicious indeed. And again, this is not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, but at least 7 scriptural towns that are like this. And there could be more, but for the sake of time, I just wanted you to see this, and prayerfully you get the idea and you see exactly the bigger agenda here, more proof of their lies and proof of truth that these are in fact the real scriptural towns, because why else would they make up this narrative of the mission stations? So again, this is just more proof showing you that the real scriptural lands had already been established and that they had already been known by your cartographers in the early 1800s, if not earlier, if not before that. It had already been known, and that the missionary agenda, that is part of the lie and the deception that has been exposed today, the truth revealed to you today. But now going to the Jordan, you'll see that what Google Maps actually admits the truth, because as we've gone over the truth hidden in plain sight. What do I mean? Well, we've gone over this in our Sodom and Gomorrah video, but if you take a look at Google Maps, you'll see that in this region towards Lesotho Lesotho and so-called South Africa, you'll actually see the Jordan River. So if we keep scrolling, and we've done this before within this wildlife reserve, if you keep scrolling and keep going, you will actually see the Jordan River right here. So you actually see it. Now, why is it that the Jordan River looks so secluded? And if you keep going, you'll be actually able to trail it. So there's the Jordan River within the actual wildlife park right here. You see the Jordan River. You see how it shows up on Google Maps. And if we go back this way, you see it. So we're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. There's the Jordan River right there. There it is again. And then it keeps going even outside of the park right here. And again, the question is, could this be the real Jordan River? Is this the Jordan River of Scripture? Is this the Jordan River where the real Messiah was actually immersed, or commonly known as baptized by Yahuchanan, John the Immerser? Is that where all of this took place? Did it take place in this region? Could this really be the real scriptural region? Or is all of this just a mere surprise or a coincidence? Well, that is for you to decide. But as you can see right here, and if you keep scrolling, there it is. It still shows the Jordan River, still shows it, and then it turns into something else. Why? Because again, names were changed, things were changed on these maps, and we all know the agenda now. Again, the truth being revealed to you today. But you can clearly see the Jordan River right here on Google Maps. They're even telling you and putting it right in front of your face, the region where it is. Just like with the Illuminati, what do they like to do? What do? They put the truth right in front of your face. They already told you about 9/11 how many years before it actually happened. The elite Illuminati, they already told you about certain world events, just like with the alien deceptions and everything with the X-Files. They've already told you these things. Don't you see how it's already predictive programming the truth right in front of you? Well, with this, it's no different. The truth right in front of you, but you have to go searching for it and asking for the answers. Ask, seek, and knock, and it will be revealed to you. And yes, I'm well aware, and I know of the naysayers out there who are already looking at this video and already wondering, oh, but how do you know that's the real Jordan River? How do you know that's the one? What about all of the other places in the world that have Jordan River as their name? Places in America and places in other regions that have Jordan River as their name. How do you know that those aren't the ones? Blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, it's time to wake up, open your eyes, and use discernment and see the truth that's right in front of you, because this is just beyond the Jordan River being listed. This is all of the other countless of scriptural locations within this region. This is not one, not two, not three, not four, but 18 maps of the real Jerusalem located within this region as well. So when you account all of that, and also what we talked about with Sodom and Gomorrah and Gibeon and the so-called meteors, or the large hailstones that bear witness of this region, then you start to see that it all adds up. It's important to use discernment and to understand the hidden agenda, and to understand that if it's a scriptural match and a geographical match and a geological match and a mineralogical match and an academic match, well, then you have a match indeed. Now that's the first one, but many of you have also noted this one, which is also interesting, how there's also a Jordan River right here in Bethlehem of all places. Very interesting and suspicious indeed, because when you scroll into the old location, this is what you will find. So if you keep scrolling, there is what's called the Jordan River. Of course, it's in a different language, but it's the same Jordan River. And if you keep scrolling, it's the same thing. Jordan River, Jordan River, Jordan River right there. And then if you keep scrolling, Jordan River. So you see that it's the same thing, and interestingly enough, around the old location of Bethlehem. Now, could it be? Now, the first one we just looked at, this one, of course, was around the Lesotho border for Lesotho and so-called South Africa. This right here is in so-called South Africa. But could it be possible that the Jordan River was a much longer river than what's told? Could it be possible that parts of it have dried up after these thousands of years? Could it be possible that the river once connected and spanned the entire region of so-called South Africa, that it's much bigger than what they're showing us and that there are more parts of it that they're showing, but of course because of all the name changes and the changes of the names of these rivers in this region, because they changed the names of certain places 134 times, could all of that really be the reason why there have been so many wars and apartheid in this region? Because apartheid has mostly affected this region and really nowhere else in the world. Why is that the case? And just like we went over in the documentary, during the time of apartheid, Europeans were the only ones allowed in certain areas and certain regions in so-called South Africa, and it's like that to this day with gentrification and even with European farmers that are only allowed in certain areas because more than likely they know the truth about this region. But guess what? So do we, and the truth will be revealed to you today. The truth has been revealed to you, and now you will be made free from the truth, because the truth is what makes us free. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha so that you will be led into even more truth, and so you will be deceived no more, so that the truth will continue to make you free. This is Truth Unveiled here, saying as always, Shalom.